A communal settlement, it has around a settlement population of 2,687, 2015, it is administered by the Gush Etzion Regional Council. The international community considers Israeli settlements in the West Bank illegal under international law. Local Palestinian villagers say they owned and worked the land until military curfews and closures in the wake of the Al-Aqsa Intifada forced them to abandon it, whereupon settlers moved onto the land to build there in February 2001. Netiv Ha'avat subsequently figured among 105 outposts listed in the Sasson report submitted to the Israel cabinet in 2005, and the report noted that Israeli Ministry of Housing and Construction had by that date spent NIS 300,000 to develop the outpost. Netiv Ha'avat has since been the subject of 2 High Court of Justice petitions. The court ordered the government to form a committee to examine the land ownership issue after 8 Palestinian farmers from Al-Qadr petitioned for the demolition of the outpost in 2002 on the basis that it was built on their privately owned land. In 2008, a second petition to demolish the outpost was filed by Peace Now, and the state said a committee would be formed to examine land ownership. The Office of the State Attorney responded by concurring that the outpost was unauthorized and that action, stop work orders and demolitions, was being taken. The state, though having repeated for 9 years that the outpost had been built illegally, stated through the Attorney General on the April 25, 2010, in a notification to the High Court of Justice that the government was considering approving the settlement, subject to determining what buildings stood on state ground and which constructions were built on private Palestinian land. If cases were found reflecting the latter circumstance, then demolitions would proceed. B'Tselem, the Israeli human rights organization, argued that any such government approval would constitute approval of looting and unlawful construction, and implied that the state was ignoring obligations undertaking in the Roadmap for Peace. The Peace Now petition was rejected in October 2010 by Justice Edmund Levy because the land survey had not been carried out. The survey, completed a month later, found that 60% of the outpost was built on privately owned Palestinian farmland. On April 13, 2014, Israel announced its intention to retroactively declare 983 dunams around Nevet Ha'avat state land, marking the largest expropriation of West Bank territory in recent times. Palestinian village leaders were given notice of the state's intention to appropriate the land, and have 45 days to appeal the decision. About 50 families live in the outpost, including the secretary of Amana, described by Haaretz as the organization that is the driving force behind all the illegal outposts. Palestinians living in nearby villages were given 45 days to appeal the decision.